Hi. Yeah, this is going to be a really good one. Here you go.
A mature philosophy of life originates in a natural thoughtfulness. To live without thinking is to fail in the proper use of the powers and faculties with which we have been endowed. To think without applying our thoughts to the conduct of our affairs is to substitute mere intellectualism for intelligence. It is seldom possible to perfect a personal philosophy without study, through which we become familiar with the deepest and noblest convictions of mankind. We must also call upon daily experience, by which we can convince ourselves of the reality and integrity of certain basic principles, ever present and forever true. Beyond both study and experience are the internal faculties of the soul, and these must bestow final certitude upon our convictions. If therefore we live simply and wisely, seeking first the improvement of our inner lives, preserving an open heart and mind, we shall be guided and directed according to our needs and understanding. Each person must discover his own philosophy of life, and it is not fair or right to...
Okay, before I continue that, I'm going to read the description box for you. So this is Flat Earth Freemason Tranny P, Manly P. Hall's philosophy of life. A must listen. In 1973, 47 years after writing The Secret Teachings of All Ages, Hall was recognized as a 33rd degree Mason, the highest honor conferred by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite, at a ceremony held at the Philosophical Research Society on December 8th, despite never being initiated into the physical craft. That means that Manly B. Hall never joined any fraternal order, and that they contacted him and made him, which is the public relations branch of the Scottish Rite, which is arguably the most popular fraternal organization on the plane at the moment. So Manly P. Hall writes, Freemasonry is a fraternity within a fraternity, an outer organization concealing an inner brotherhood of the elect. Before it is possible to intelligently discuss the origin of the craft, it is necessary, therefore, to establish the existence of these two separate yet interdependent orders, the one visible and the other invisible. The visible society, aka the exoteric, the visible society is a splendid camaraderie of free and accepted men, enjoined to devote themselves to ethical, educational, fraternal, patriotic, and humanitarian concerns. The invisible society is a secret and most august fraternity, whose members are dedicated to the service of a mysterious arcanum, arcanorum. Those brethren who have essayed to write the history of their craft have not included in their disquisitions the story of that truly secret inner society, which is to the body Freemasonic what the heart is to the body human. In each generation, only a few are accepted into the inner sanctuary of the work, the great work. But these are veritable princes of the truth, and their sainted names shall be remembered in future ages together with the seers and prophets of the elder world. Though the great initiate-philosophers of Freemasonry can be counted upon one's fingers, yet their power is not to be measured by the achievements of ordinary men. They are dwellers upon the threshold of the innermost, masters of that secret doctrine which forms the invisible foundation of every great theological and rational institution. Yeah, there's let me put it to you this way. I'm going to read you a blog now. This is the Chance George blog. So unquestionably, one of the greatest books written of all time is Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. You, of course, know I have a copy of that. It's a $300 book. So The Secret Teachings of All Ages, an encyclopedic outline of Masonic, Hermetic, Kabbalistic, and Rosicrucian symbolical philosophy, written in 1926 through 1928. This colossus of information seems to be the type of literature that is passed among the illumined or secret societies of such as the Freemasons. I bring up the Masons as they appear to be listed as perpetrators of the flat earth versus the globe earth debate. This group of so-called elites has been named as a controlling hand in the conspiracy. NASA is Masons. The major scientists are all Masons. While those facts are true, I know by reading their own admissions to each other through books like this one above that I should be able to catch them in the act. These writings need to be examined for any evidence or admissions. It didn't take long before my assumptions were confirmed. Less than 120 pages in, I had my answer. First, let's look at Manly himself. Hall is an honorary 33rd degree Freemason. Conferred by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite. He was also the founder of the Philosophical Research Society. If any man knew the secrets and helped pass on knowledge, it was Manly. So here, in his own words, on the subject of flat earth, over 3 decades before the creation of NASA, created by a Mason president, by the way, Manly P. Hall states, there are 2 distinct systems of astrological philosophy. One of them, Platonic. It's geocentric. So there are 2 distinct systems of astrological philosophy. One of them, Ptolemaic. That's I think the P is silent there. Ptolemaic. That's from Ptolemy, philosopher, geocentric philosopher. Let's see here. So I'm going to read this. This is Manly P. Hall. There are 2 distinct systems of astrological philosophy. One of them, Ptolemaic, is geocentric. The Earth is considered the center of the solar system, around which the sun, moon, and planets revolve. Astronomically, the geocentric system is incorrect, but for thousands of years it has proved its accuracy when applied to the material nature of earthly things. A careful consideration of the writings of the great occultists and a study of their diagrams reveal the fact that many of them were acquainted with another method of arranging the heavenly bodies. The other system of astrological philosophy is called heliocentric. This posits the sun in the center of the solar system, where it naturally belongs, with the planets and their moon revolving around it. The great difficulty, however, with the heliocentric system is that, being comparatively new, there has not been sufficient time to experiment successfully and catalog the effects of the various aspects and relationships. Geocentric astrology, as its name implies, is confined to the earthly side of nature, while heliocentric astrology may be used to analyze the higher intellectual and spiritual faculties of man. The important point to be remembered is that when the sun was said to be in a certain sign of the zodiac, the ancients really meant that the sun occupied the opposite sign and cast its long ray into the house in which they enthroned it. Therefore, when it is said that, fuck, all of a sudden it just stops. So, do you notice the complete description of both systems along with his working knowledge of the two? He goes even further in explaining the two and which is the correct versus the disinformation. Manly P. Hall continues. The important point to be remembered is that when the sun was said to be in a certain sign of the zodiac, the ancients really meant that the sun occupied the opposite sign and cast its long ray into the house in which they enthroned it. Therefore, when it is said that the sun is in Taurus, it means astronomically that the sun is in the sign opposite to Taurus, which is Scorpio. This resulted in two distinct schools of philosophy, one geocentric and exoteric, the other heliocentric and esoteric. While the ignorant multitudes worshipped the house of the sun's reflection, which in the case described would be the bull, the wise revered the house of the sun's actual dwelling, which would be the scorpion or the serpent, the sun, the symbol of the concealed spiritual mystery. This sign has three different symbols. The most common is that of a scorpion, who was called by the ancients the backbiter. Oh, the backbiter, tell him the God's gonna gun him down, being the symbol of deceit and perversion. The second and less common form of the sign is a serpent, used by the ancients to symbolize wisdom. Here we see that Hall has admitted the difference between the two theories, and that one is not meant for the masses. He calls geocentric esoteric, and refers to heliocentric as esoteric. Admitting this outright could partially be due to the hope that not many even recognize the difference in words, but also admits some of the principles, while incorrect, appear correct in nature. Let's look at the two different words used here as exoteric versus esoteric. First, exoteric. Exoteric. The definition of exoteric is 1a, suitable to be imparted to the public, the exoteric doctrine. B, belonging to the outer or less initiate circle. Second definition of exoteric, relating to the outside, external. As you can clearly see, it clearly states suitable to the public, which would indicate that the geocentric, or Earth is the center of the universe, stationary, and the cosmos moves around us, is information that can be released to the general public. And now esoteric. Esoteric, the definition of esoteric. 1a, designed for or understood by the specially initiated alone. The specially initiated alone. Designed for or B, requiring or exhibiting knowledge that is restricted to a small group. Interesting. I see what they did now. Limited to a small circle. So so they got caught with the flat Earth versus the heliocentric. They got caught. So then they started to release both the esoteric and the exoteric out to the public to confuse them even further. So now nobody can tell the difference, and only people with realize can realize the real lies. And so yeah, I can tell the difference quite easily. So to review, one of the most elaborate Masonic works of text passed around for generations to come, written by one of the most honored members This hidden information about the Earth's correct position in the universe was transmitted. The very Masonic position on the subject is that the correct model is the esoteric heliocentric model, while also admitting the lie meant for the ignorant public is the exoteric geocentric model. Yeah. So I hope that helps clear things up a little bit. Here's the blog that I just read that from. I'll share with you in the chat. Let me know what you think. Make sure you share this. Make sure you share this, like and share this. And I'm gonna check out the chat room real quick. What's up, OJ McBaggins? What's up, Dan W, Antonio, Felix, Elliot Hall? Give you a wrench. Daniel Smith, what's going on, dude? Elliot Hall, a podcast episode with Eddie Bravo was deleted a few hours after it was uploaded this morning. It is this past weekend episode 94 with Theo Von. When I went to go see Joe Rogan's comedy this past year, about 6 months ago-ish, with my photo or painting shirt on, and Joe Rogan was like, oh, he wouldn't dare to fucking mention the flat Earth in front of me when I was staring at him face to face. But then when he went to my hometown a week later in Buffalo, and I had my spies in the audience, he was making fun of the flat Earth. What a coincidence, Joe. Joey doesn't want to make fun of the flat Earth when I'm staring at him, but old Joey will make fun of it in my hometown, though, a week later. So let's see here. I actually talked to Theo Von after the show. I was talking with Theo Von. I was kind of trolling him about why he wasn't on the main stage with the better comedians. But now Theo Von's moving up. I noticed that he's been moving up. I triggered him. So yeah, so cool. Eddie Bravo was talking flat Earth with Theo Von now, and they deleted his video, is what you're saying, Elliot Hall? I can't believe Eddie Bravo stuck around. Must be interesting. So let's see here. What's up, Racer FE? What book? The Secret Teachings of All Ages. Yo, what's up, Daniel Reza? God, I wanna give Daniel Reza and Daniel Smith wrenches. Should I give Daniel Reza and Daniel Smith wrenches? What do you guys think? What's going on, Night Angel? Hey, what's going on, Candy? Oh, another Daniel. Yes, Daniel Meyer. There's so many Dans here. It's amazing. So many Dans. Like and share. I almost got 20 people watching, and I'm about to have you guys listen to Manly P. Hall's lecture. So please stick around for that. Obviously, Golden State's going to win the championship. Purple Mine 34. Yeah, Golden State's going to win. Going to beat Houston in 5 or 6 games. Maybe 7 if the NBA is really interested in money. Hint, they are. And since the NBA doesn't want LeBron James to get swept in the finals anymore, his team is just pathetic, and he's pathetic too. And and Golden State's just absolutely going to dismantle LeBron James. But you've been LeBron K Ultra'd. That's a term that I created. I created the term LeBron K Ultra'd. So if you think that LeBron is a great player, like one of let me put it to you this way: if you think LeBron James is better than Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, you've been LeBron K Ultra'd. So let's see here. Okay, I used to be Daniel Mora. There's like a million Dans in here. All right, so I'm gonna take a, yeah, man, give him wrenches. Yep, you got a wrench, Elliot. I don't need a wrench. I'm not going to timeout or ban. I enjoy talking. Okay, cool. All Dan's get a wrench. All right, cool. I got 20 people watching, and now's a perfect time to play this lecture. This lecture is, I'll share it with you right here. Here we go. Here's a lecture if you want to listen to it in your own time. And I'm going to play it right now. And then afterwards, I'm going to play some Robert Anton Wilson and chill out with that. So thank you for being here, all 21 of you. And make sure you like and share, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my main channel, Flat Earth Subgenius. And what's going on? Good times for all. You're really going to enjoy this lecture that I'm about to put on. Hey, Purple Mind 34. If LeBron James is so incredible at making his teammates better, then why did he need a new group of teammates in the beginning of the year? He got his new group of teammates in the beginning of the year. You know, Dwayne Wade, Derrick Rose, and all of those all-star people. But then if LeBron James is so good that he makes everyone else better, then why couldn't he make all them better? And then why does he need a whole new cast of people at the trade deadline? If he makes people better, he shouldn't need all these all stars and players, be surrounded by so many all stars and players. But unfortunately, LeBron James is a fraud and a myth, just like the Globe lie. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking about that bullshit before I lose viewers, and here goes.
To impose our without thinking. A mature philosophy of life originates in a natural thoughtfulness. To live without thinking is to fail in the proper use of the powers and faculties with which we have been endowed. To think without applying our thoughts to the conduct of our affairs is to substitute mere intellectualism for intelligence. It is seldom possible to perfect a personal philosophy with which we have been endowed. To think without applying our thoughts to the conduct of our affairs is to substitute mere intellectualism for intelligence. It is seldom possible to perfect a personal philosophy without study, through which we become familiar with the deepest and noblest convictions of mankind. We must also call upon daily experience, by which we can convince ourselves of the reality and integrity of certain basic principles, ever present and forever true. Beyond both study and experience are the internal faculties of the soul, and these must bestow final certitude upon our convictions. If therefore we live simply and wisely, seeking first the improvement of our inner lives, reserving an open heart and mind, we shall be guided and directed according to our needs and understanding. Each person must discover his own philosophy of life, and it is not fair or right to impose our codes upon others. It is also our responsibility, however, to share one with another such experiences as may have common value. We desire, therefore, not to convert or to convince, but to invite such a sharing with the sincere hope that some mutual good will be accomplished. My life has been devoted to the consideration of those essential doctrines which have most advanced the human state. Yet it would not be entirely fair to say that I have borrowed my convictions from antiquity, or addicted myself to the words or thoughts of the famous or the illustrious. I have chosen rather a course tempered by observation and experience, and mellowed by reflection. Weighing all things, I have chosen to cling to that which was good for me, and most serviceable for those who have sought my help and guidance. From my search for the good and the necessary, I have come to the following convictions. I believe in one supreme and absolute power at the source of life, the cause of all living, and that this ineffable principle may justly and truthfully be named the one and the good. Whether men call this universal divinity, God, or Allah, good and the necessary, I have come to the following convictions. I believe in one supreme and absolute power at the source of life, the cause of all living, and that this ineffable principle may justly and truthfully be named the one and the good. Whether men call this universal divinity, God, or Allah, or Brahma, or Tao, is of no great concern, for such terms and titles reveal differences of language, but not divergence of ideas. Man has come to know this sovereign good through the seekings of his mind and the longings of his heart. It seems to me, however, that believing in good, and in a God everywhere existing, and forever the source of wisdom, justice, truth, and love, we must in the end come to the realization that all the workings of this creative power are necessary, beautiful, and virtuous. The universe in which we live is one of innumerable manifestations of the divine will. The world, therefore, must be essentially good, for it is not conceivable that a principle shall create contrary to its own nature. If then there shall appear to be injustice, inequality, and calamity in the world, they must originate not in the divine understanding, but in human misunderstanding. If it is not given to us to know all things and to solve all mysteries, we must seek through faith, hope, and charity for the beautiful and the good. The will of the eternal power is revealed to us through the laws governing the formation, generation, growth, unfoldment, and improvement of created things. Through reflection, we may experience the realities of these laws and discover them to be both wise and kind. We venerate eternal principles through obedience and through a cheerful acceptance of the lessons of daily living. The end of all learning, the fruits of all labors and endeavors, and the consummation of the deepest and most devout instincts and intuitions of our souls are that we shall come to honor and obey the rules of the vast plan of which we are the conscious and separate parts. All arts, sciences, philosophies, religions, crafts, and trades can enrich our inward lives to the degree that we realize that through them the sovereign laws of existence are variously revealed and manifested for our advancement and enlightenment. I believe that human consciousness is a being separate from the body which it inhabits, and that this consciousness existed prior to embodiment and will survive the dissolution of its physical form. I am convinced of this not only by the authority of religion and philosophy, but also by a natural sense within myself. This belief is reasonably sustained by the circumstances of living. It is difficult to rationally maintain that man is born, suffers, and dies without reason or purpose, nor is it conceivable that experience, knowledge, and understanding, which are obviously and undeniably the richer fruits of living, should cease and be utterly dissolved by the phenomenon of death. Neither can I accept the doctrine of an eternal judgment with everlasting rewards and punishments, meted out at the end of one frail and imperfect span of years in this world. In the economy of nature, and in the benevolence of an abiding providence, all creatures possessing within them the life of the Creator must have an eternal continuance of themselves or in universal being. Life as we know it must therefore be an episode in a larger existence. For this and other reasons, I believe in the doctrine of rebirth as a pattern of life most honorable for man, most suitable to things known and seen, and best calculated to reveal the eternal goodness of the sovereign being. I am willing to accept the challenge of growth, to believe that I have lived before and will live again. My present state is the sum of my previous existences, and I am endowed with the powers and potentials of improvement, by which I may advance my destiny, according to my deserts and merits. I seek neither to be forgiven for my mistakes, nor applauded for my attainments, but take my refuge in a law of eternal good, which gives me the right to work out my salvation with diligence. I do not believe in a principle of evil, for I cannot reconcile such a doctrine with the eternal good which rules the universe with an absolute power. Yet I must explain, to the satisfaction of my own conscience, those appearances of evil which surround me. By experience and observation, I have satisfied myself that evil is another name for ignorance. Through ignorance, man becomes selfish, critical, and destructive. And from these abuses and misuses of his divine and natural resources, he causes corruption and discord in the way of life which he has fashioned. When man violates natural law, or disobeys the code of his own kind, he brings upon himself certain retributions, which appear to him to be unreasonable punishment. In the broad pattern of mortal existence, discord reveals the need for concord, selfishness, the need for unselfishness, cruelty, the need for kindness, and ignorance, the need for the tireless search after truth and beauty. Thus what we call evil is a servant of good, for it causes us, in the end, to depart from error and cling to reality. I believe in the inalienable right of every man and woman to worship his God and to seek truth according to the instincts and inclinations of his own heart and mind. Careful study has convinced me that all the great religions of the world, past and present, teach the same essential code of conduct. They all believe in the existence of a sovereign power or being. They teach in one way or another the immortality of the soul, and they affirm the ultimate victory of good over evil, light over darkness, truth over error. It seems to me that as the earth has many climates, suitable for the development of living creatures, so faith may have many names, but named or nameless, comforts and inspires those of sincere spirit who seek the consolation of devout belief. I would therefore never seek to convert a man from his faith or to another, but rather would help him in any way that I can to find the richness and fullness of his own religion. In time, he will realize that as one light can be manifested through many colors, so one truth can be sought and found through the several colors of sincere believing. It may happen, however, that different religions have advanced and specialized certain parts, tenets, and doctrines of the one and eternal religion. Therefore, it seems to me that through the study of comparative religion, we come nearer to the complete truth, which is the one and eternal faith. Need for concord, selfishness, the need for unselfishness, cruelty, the need for kindness, and ignorance, the need for the tireless search after truth and beauty. Thus what we call evil is a servant of good, for it causes us, in the end, to depart from error and cling to reality. I believe in the inalienable right of every man and woman to worship his God and to seek truth according to the instincts and inclinations of his own heart and mind. Careful study has convinced me that all the great religions of the world, past and present, teach the same essential code of conduct. They all believe in the existence of a sovereign power or being. They teach in one way or another the immortality of the soul, and they affirm the ultimate victory of good over evil, light over darkness, truth over error. It seems to me that as the earth has many climates, suitable for the development of living creatures, so faith may have many names, but named or nameless, comforts and inspires those of sincere spirit who seek the consolation of devout belief. I would therefore never seek to convert a man from his faith or to another, but rather would help him in any way that I can to find the richness and fullness of his own religion. In time, he will realize that as one light can be manifested through many colors, so one truth can be sought and found through the several colors of sincere believing. It may happen, however, that different religions have advanced and specialized certain parts, tenets, and doctrines of the one and eternal religion. Therefore, it seems to me that through the study of comparative religion, we come nearer to the complete truth, which is the one and eternal faith. Conflict between beliefs, therefore, confuses and obscures man's natural instinct to worship the supreme good. For the same reason, I believe that all races and cultures are parts of one plan, and should not be regarded as in any way separate. Conflict between beliefs, therefore, confuses and obscures man's natural instinct to worship the supreme good. Speak truth, which is the one and eternal faith. Conflict between beliefs, therefore, confuses and obscures man's natural instinct to worship the supreme good. For the same reason, I believe that all races and creatures are parts of one plan, and should not be regarded as in any way separate or distinct from that plan. All men, regardless of their races or nations, their colors or conditions, share one life, exist in one world, and are the children of one creating power. Therefore I shall measure a man, not by his complexion, but by his works, and will decline to hold any attitude which disparages him because of circumstances arising from birth or social estate. I am assured by my own conscience that if I cannot find the good in myself and in my fellow man, I shall in no way discover it in space or beyond the stars. I sincerely believe that I have been endowed with faculties, powers, and perceptions, for the use of which I am morally responsible. It is my duty to myself, to my world, and to the eternal power by and in which I exist, to govern my temper, subdue my appetites, refine my emotions, inform my mind, and increase my understanding. Failure to advance these causes must leave me a victim to my own intemperances and expose me to the just censure of my associates. Because I am a conscious being, and not required to follow the immediate instincts and impulses of my disposition, I can be kind, just.
Wait, did you just say, did you just ask if this is a channel for Christians? I mean, if you're a Christian and you're on this channel, it's a channel for Christians, but this isn't specifically a channel for Christians. No, to answer your question, I don't want to laugh at you.
Gentle, forgiving, compassionate, and self-sacrificing, even under the most trying and difficult circumstances, both by observation and experience, and by the testimony.
Hold on, let me grab my Bible real quickly. Let's see here. Which Bible shall I show? I got oh, it's too dark. Hold on. Here, can you see this? There's a Holy Bible. I hope you can see that. You got here's the Torah. In case you're if you're of Jewish affiliation, got a nice little special box here. Got this Bible. This is a good one too. Hold on. Let me say my prayers to a God that already knows my prayers, but he just wants to hear me beg. I already know. Listen, I already know what you're praying to me and what you want. I already know that. I just want you to fucking beg me. Oh, sorry. This is a subgenius Bible. This is the second subgenius Bible. And then you got this monster. This is a pretty big one here. It's a big Bible here. This is a $75 Bible here. It's a beauty. She's a beauty. I got a Kabbalah. I got all different. I got the Secret Teachings of All Eight. I got all different type of religious books. I'm like it's like a Pokemon to me, you know? You gotta catch 'em all. Smoky Man.
My understanding. I am assured by my own conscience that if I cannot find the good in myself and in my fellow man, I shall in no way discover it in space or beyond the stars. I sincerely believe that
Whoa. What did he just say?
I am assured by my own conscience that if I cannot find the good in myself and in my fellow man, I shall in no way discover it in space or beyond the stars.
Interesting. Very interesting. One more time for you so you can hear what he said.
Or social estate. I am assured by my own conscience that if I cannot find the good in myself and in my fellow man, I shall in no way discover it in space or...
That's a very profound statement. One more time for shits and giggles.
Therefore I shall measure a man, not by his complexion, but by his works, and will decline to hold any attitude which disparages him because of circumstances arising from birth or social estate. I am assured by my own conscience that if I cannot find the good in myself and in my fellow man, I shall in no way discover it in space or beyond the stars. I sincerely believe that I have been endowed with faculties, powers, and perceptions, for the use of which I am morally responsible. It is my duty to myself, to my world, and to the eternal power by and in which I exist, to govern my temper, subdue my appetites, refine my emotions, inform my mind, and increase my understanding. Failure to advance these causes must leave me a victim to my own intemperances and expose me to the just censure of my associates. Because I am a conscious being, and not required to follow the immediate instincts and impulses of my disposition, I can be kind, just, gentle, forgiving, compassionate, and self-sacrificing, even under the most trying and difficult circumstances, both by observation and experience, and by the testimony of the ages. I inwardly know right from wrong and good from bad. I may not attain to an absolute definition of these terms, but I understand them as they apply to me and to my own conduct. I cannot, therefore, claim to be wise, virtuous, or devout, unless by my actions I sustain such pretensions. It seems to me that the purposes of philosophy and psychology are to guide me in the moderation of my conduct. They teach me to be strong in the works of good, because they have brought me an understanding of the good. Philosophy is not merely a branch of learning, it is a way of life. Unless I practice that way, I have no part in philosophy, or in true science, or in pure religion, for they all teach the same. I therefore shall judge that man to be good, to be wise, and to be devout, who according to his own abilities and limitations is striving to live well, and to bring his own thoughts and emotions under the control of enlightened understanding. Words without works are dead, and a beautiful belief that does not lead to gentleness of spirit is fruitless. It may well be that we shall all fall short, but we shall count that man a hero who does his best, for we know that his sincere effort will be rewarded with greater insight. I believe it to be right and proper to venerate the good, as it is revealed through those who have served it lovingly and well. Therefore I respect and admire the great philosophers, spiritual leaders, sages, and saints who have gone before. I do not worship them, nor do I desire to copy any one of them, for I believe that each has his own destiny, which must be unfolded and perfected. If we should respect our parents, who are the sources of our being, should we not also respect the wise, who are the sources of our well-being? I am therefore grateful that good men and women have lived, and I gladly bestow upon them the recognition and appreciation which were denied to most of them while they lived. I believe that we may outgrow our teacher, but never our duty to remember him with gratitude. I find a great consolation in the realization that these good and great leaders were mortals like ourselves, with shortcomings like our own. For by these facts and signs, I realize that it is possible for an imperfect man to be so dedicated to truth that he may serve others and contribute to the dissemination of eternal realities. I believe that it is just and proper that we should take full advantage of all new discoveries in every branch of learning. I cannot condemn science or education or modern philosophy because of their shortcomings. I know that they must be served by imperfect mortals who, like myself, are seeking to grow and to explore the mysteries of life, time, and space. I feel it to be unwise to criticize or condemn, lest I cause others to copy my attitudes or to feel that they are justified in agreeing with me. I have learned from experience that constructive words, kindly appreciation, and a full recognition of good intentions contribute more to the growth of others than fault-finding and disparagement. I am inclined, therefore, to be silent if I cannot commend. A good life must have communion with the inner parts of itself. It is right and proper that we should cultivate quietude and set aside some part of our time to gentle reflection. I believe that the eternal being within us makes known its purposes most immediately and fully through the peaceful heart and the quiet mind. It is therefore of the greatest utility to experience the presence of the eternal good as a benediction upon the spirit, inclining us naturally to peace of soul. There can be no peace without faith, for through faith alone do we discover the truth and reality of peace. I believe that the philosopher should be a law-abiding citizen, should keep the statutes of the nation and community in which he lives, and if he be unable to so accept and acknowledge, he should depart to some other region more suitable to his inclinations. Advancement in learning causes us to wonder about the goodness of things and to appreciate growth and progress. This does not mean, however, that we are unmindful of faults and failings. It is better to be inspired to correct the condition than to allow ourselves to become mere critics. As we cultivate integrity in ourselves, we strengthen and enrich society, thus gradually making possible all reasonable reforms. I have observed that those of cheerful disposition, well disposed toward others, naturally slow to anger and quick to forgive, tolerant and inclined to cultivate peace and concord, are most likely to enjoy good health. Happiness and security must be earned by conduct, and are reserved for those who merit such rewards. Thus it seems that the laws of the universe assert themselves and make known the divine plan for man. Moderation is a virtue, for both abstinence and indulgence are extremes, and nature requires a middle course. I believe that possession is a conceit of the human mind. We are not here to exercise ownership, but to accept a certain stewardship. We cannot possess other persons without injuring them, and even more afflicting ourselves. To have more than we need is a burden to the soul, and a constant temptation to excess and extravagance. Those with many worldly goods have slight time or incentive for the cultivation of character. They become the servants of their own belongings, and are deluded with a false sense of security. It is good for every person to work. Love of religion or philosophy, or the effort to acquire spiritual graces, should never prevent an individual from being a self-sustaining member of society. To be skilled in a craft or a trade, to have more than we need requires a middle course. Moderation is a virtue, for both abstinence and indulgence are extremes, and nature requires a middle course. I believe that possession is a conceit of the human mind. We are not here to exercise ownership, but to accept a certain stewardship. We cannot possess other persons without injuring them, and even more afflicting ourselves. To have more than we need is a burden to the soul, and a constant temptation to excess and extravagance. Those with many worldly goods have slight time or incentive for the cultivation of character. They become the servants of their own belongings, and are deluded with a false sense of security. It is good for every person to work. Love of religion or philosophy, or the effort to acquire spiritual graces, should never prevent an individual from being a self-sustaining member of society. To be skilled in a craft or a trade is to participate in the experience of creativeness and to retain honor and to preserve dignity of person. Nor can I conceive one useful labor to be more excellent than another, or that humble endeavor should be looked down upon or despised. Honest toil is as much a part of religion as the most elaborate ritual in the church or the cathedral. I believe that love is an eternal power and a natural part of the sovereign good. If all things be created by wisdom and supported by strength, they shall be perfected by love. Wherever the redeeming power is present in the world, working the mysteries of regeneration and redemption, there we shall find love. It is a medicine for the sickness of the mind, the debility of the soul, or the exhaustion of the body. By love all things are tempered and subdued, and their perfect works are revealed. For man there can be no proof of love, except that he shall love. By the power of love he is induced to sacrifice himself, and to place the happiness of others above his own. If he loves truly, he will act nobly. He will find no excuse for unkindness or discord, but will forgive his enemy and sustain his friend. There can be no peace in this world, no tranquility within man, no sharing in the grace of the eternal, without love. By it, wisdom shall be made alive. Knowledge shall be used for the common good. Science will become the servant of progress, and religion will end its doctrine of fear. Love is not to be declared or uttered or spoken, but shall be revealed by deeds. By it we are moved to do those things which bring joy to those we care for. True love can never be selfish or self-seeking, but gives of itself utterly and completely. I have further observed that it is most difficult to apply wisdom to simple things. It is easier to explain the universe than to understand the conduct of a friend. It is easier to plan a reformation of society than to build a good home or bring laughter to the eyes of the sorrowful. Therefore it seems to me that the truth seeker should first put in order that which is nearest to himself. He discovers the wisdom and folly of his beliefs immediately, if he attempts to live these beliefs. If, however, he shall ignore his own life and seek larger fields of endeavor, he may live for many years addicted to false doctrines, without the truth being evident to him. Nor should he ever expect others to love and respect him, if he does not love and respect them. Two wrongs will never make a right, and it is easier to plan a reformation of society than to build a good home or bring laughter to the eyes of the sorrowful. Therefore it seems to me that the truth seeker should first put in order that which is nearest to himself. He discovers the wisdom and folly of his beliefs immediately, if he attempts to live these beliefs. If, however, he shall ignore his own life and seek larger fields of endeavor, he may live for many years addicted to false doctrines, without the truth being evident to him. Nor should he ever expect others to love and respect him, if he does not love and respect them. Two wrongs will never make a right, and it is against the greater good when we permit dissension to continue among ourselves. I firmly believe that religious experience is good and necessary, but I shall tell no man what faith to follow. We all need the consolation of the Spirit, which comes to those who humbly acknowledge their indebtedness to a sovereign power. The form of the faith is less important than its reality, but through forms, men seek the formless, which is the source of all. Likewise, therefore, it is good to pray, not for the things that we want, but for that depth of understanding which we need. Let us therefore pray that we shall live without offense, that we shall serve the good, that in all things we shall be kind, and that in the end we shall know our God. I believe that those who keep the law will be kept by the law. In the fullness of time, the human soul, vestured in righteousness and abundant in grace, shall return to the eternal being from which it came, and it shall abide in everlastingness, and shall know the peace that surpasseth understanding. I do not believe that souls can be lost, that an ultimate evil can obscure the works of good, or that the nature of being is anywhere within itself a source or cause of pain or terror. It also seems to me that the world in which we live, with all its creatures and parts, is a growing and unfolding being, and that in the fullness of time the grace within man shall so shine from him that he can build a beautiful society in which he can live peacefully, happily, and harmoniously. In those days there will be good government, freedom from crime and want, and mankind will collectively be aware of its own purpose and will gloriously and gladly serve that purpose. Until such a time, I shall do what I can, according to the means which I possess, to make this possible, with no expectations of immediate reward. I believe that it is the duty and privilege of those in such special professions as are immediately concerned with the essential growth of man to be honest, sincere, and honorable. I believe that they cannot, without the gravest injury to themselves and others, allow selfishness or self-interest to influence them. It seems to me that we should be specially mindful in the educating of lawyers, doctors, statesmen, theologians, philosophers, and psychologists, doing all in our power to help them to understand the natural divinity and dignity of human life. For as these exercise a wide influence upon the popular mind, they should realize that it is in their power to minister to the inner needs as well as to the outer necessities of those who depend upon them. I believe that greatness of knowledge and wisdom lead to faith, and that without faith, knowledge is a madness and an affliction to the soul. I believe that if I follow in the path of wisdom, as revealed to me by the teachers of the race, by the inward instincts and intuitions of my consciousness, supported by the observations and experiences of living, I may live in a manner acceptable to truth. If I so live, I will earn and merit the right to a larger knowledge and understanding, but I am not entitled to more than is sustained by my conduct. Furthermore, if I devote myself to works of friendliness, refraining insofar as I am able from destructive actions and thoughts, I may face the future with serenity of spirit. I shall live without fear and die without fear, for I shall have justified my faith. Believing in a universe of truth and beauty, I shall meet each day without question or doubt. I shall remember the past without regret or remorse, and I shall look to the future for the fulfillment of all good things. Beyond this, I do not know, and I cannot do. But I have faith that when it is necessary, I shall know, and I can do. I ask no more, and I accept no less.
That's really good. Huh. That's a lot of trolls. That is a lot of trolls. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, Antonio.
It has been estimated that to duplicate the human brain with state-of-the-art technology would require a computer as tall as the World Trade Center and as big around as the state of Texas. And yet we all possess a computer of that power right inside our skulls here. It's got over 10 billion cells, which are capable of a number of connections so high that it's the highest number ever to enter scientific literature. It's higher than the number of atoms in the known universe. And yet we got this brain. This is one of God's worst mistakes. I'm writing a book on God's 17 worst mistakes. And one of the worst mistakes was giving us this incredible brain and neglecting to give us an operating manual. If you ever got a hard disk with, say, 17 megabytes of software on it and no manual, you find yourself going crazy trying to figure out how to use all this great computational power and always doing the wrong thing. And that has been the history of humanity to date. We've got this fantastic biocomputer, and we don't have an operating manual. And so we get imprinted with basic timidity or aggression on the bio-survival circuit, and we robotically follow that pattern all our lives. People who are timid in grade school are timid in high school, and they're still timid in their 50s or 60s. People who are aggressive remain aggressive all their lives and a royal pain in the ass to everybody else, no matter how old they get. People who are confident of their space and territory remain confident. People who are not confident of their space and territory are neurotically submissive or neurotically rebellious and fighting everybody, whether they have to or not. And people tend to remain stuck in the reality tunnel of their local tribe, as I was pointing out. And the first orgasm is a moment of high imprint vulnerability, to say the least of it. Masters and Johnson, in their book, Human Sexual Dysfunction, they quote a case of a guy who came to them who had his first sexual experience, if you can call it that, or his first sexual disaster, was in the back seat of a car. I think that's true of a lot of Americans of this generation, but usually it's not as disastrous as in his case. He was just about to make out, or whatever is the current terminology, when suddenly a policeman appeared at the window of the car with a flashlight, yelling, "What are you kids doing in there?" Now remember, we got 6,000 years of training by the Sun Kings and their enforcers about we got to obey the authorities and we can't have any fun because all forms of fun are sinful. We've been brainwashed for the last 300 years by Puritanism, which Mencken defined as the haunting fear that somebody somewhere might be having a good time. And we've all been conditioned about cops. You know, I figured out recently that in the average week you can see between 20 and 40 shows about cops on television. Maybe it's more than 40. I was just making a rough estimate. But between 20 and 40 in the average week. Now, that kind of programming, we tend to think the cops are the most important part of the world because we see more of them on television than anybody else. Imagine if there were 20 to 40 shows about landlords every week.
The television viewers, the couch potatoes, their whole reality tunnel would be twisted around and would be closer to reality. Because most of us are dealing with landlords all the time, and we hardly ever have to deal with the police. And yet we see all these shows about cops and no shows about landlords. I've only had altercations with the police twice in my life. Well, I mean, altercations involving identification and so on. I've been tear gassed a number of times and chased by the police for walking on the street in a group of more than 5. This was during the 60s when I thought it was the smart thing to do to go out and march and protest demonstrations. I later decided there were more effective ways of changing the system, but only a couple of days ago, I had another altercation with a policeman. I was crossing the street in the wrong place, and he gave me a very complicated piece of paper which tells me I'll get a courtesy notice in the mail telling me what my fine is. But if I don't get the courtesy notice, it's my duty to notify them they forgot to send me the courtesy notice, because if I don't notify them, I'm in contempt of court. So apparently this means if we fuck up, it's your fault. So you got to be on the ball and make sure we don't fuck up, because we don't take responsibility for anything. And it didn't tell me how many days I should wait before I notify them that they haven't sent me their courtesy notice yet, and telling me how much they're going to take to fine money for crossing the street in the wrong place. But I'm dealing with landlords all the time. Every day of my whole life, my parents have been dealing with landlords. I've been dealing with landlords. Anyway, a cop is a power figure in our society. It doesn't need television. They were power figures even before television. They're armed and dangerous. Everybody knows that. And so this guy was making out in the back seat of the car, and the cop appears with a flashlight and bellows, "What are you kids doing?" Now, what do you think that guy imprinted as his sexual pattern? No, he imprinted impotence. When he arrived at the Master Johnson Clinic 20 years later, he had been impotent for 20 years, ever since that experience. Now, does that remind you of the Gosling who imprinted the ping pong ball, the people who imprint terrorists? At moments of high emotional intensity, we all become subject to imprint vulnerability. And that's why people do dangerous things over and over, some people. Some people keep climbing mountains, even though you know if you climb enough mountains, the chance of an accident gets higher and higher all the time. But they get such a charge out of the stress and the danger and the excitement that they keep going back. Some people keep racing in professional auto racing, like the Grand Prix or the Indianapolis 500, even though a certain number of them cracked up every year. Hemingway kept going back to Africa to shoot at lions. High involvement, high intensity keys off a lot of neurochemicals which make you feel really on top of the world. And if you find out you can get them by danger, you keep going back to danger. If you find out you can get those high involved feelings by smoking pot, you tend to go on smoking pot up until you run into a policeman with a flashlight who says, "What are you doing in there?" And hold your ass off the door. If you find out you can get it by mantra, you'll keep on doing mantra for the rest of your life. Once again, we see the power of imprint vulnerability. High involvement, relaxed alertness, the state in which you have no anxiety. Hemingway describes it very well in his short story, A Soldier's Home, where Krebs finds he can't adjust to civilian life. And everybody thinks, well, he saw such horrors in the war that he's just emotionally damaged. But the real problem with Krebs is that he finds civilian life so damn boring. Because in war, there were those moments where, as Krebs thinks, he didn't have time to think.
Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm going to show you my awesome new...
Man, shut up.
The right thing, and you knew it was the right thing, and you came out alive, and that proved it was the right thing. And until you find moments like that, life does seem flat and dull. Those are moments of what Leary calls the fifth circuit. This whole system of circuitry I've been using today is borrowed from Timothy Leary, by the way. I developed it in my own peculiar ways, but it's basically Leary's. Although if you trace it back far enough, you'll find it's very similar to the Gurdjieff system also, which comes out of traditional Sufism. I just thought I'd throw that in so nobody thinks I'm an original thinker. On the fifth circuit, the neurosomatic circuit, we have a rush of neurochemicals that run all over the body and run all over the brain, opening new circuits and new patterns. The neuropeptides are the ones that have been identified so far. Neuropeptides act like hormones when they're in the body, and they act like neurotransmitters when they're in the brain. This gives them a dual nature, like the thingamajigs in quantum theory, which are particles part of the time and waves part of the time. The neurotransmitters are hormones part of the time, and the neuropeptides are hormones part of the time, and neurotransmitters part of the time. When you're on the neurosomatic circuit, you do the right thing, and you know it's the right thing, and there is no anxiety, there is no uncertainty, and the universe is a very beautiful place. And anybody who finds access to the neurosomatic circuit, as I said, keeps repeating their favorite technique of getting back there. And that tends to become as mechanical as the first four circuits. Unless there's some dawning of the sixth circuit, which is the metaprogramming circuit. The tendency is that some people mechanically imprint one neurosomatic technique, those who found one. Most people remain on the fourth circuit level most of their lives, which is why it is such a hard problem to tell your friends from the apes. As I said, most of these circuits are duplicated in the other mammals. Those who do find access to the fifth circuit tend to mechanically repeat the technique that gets them there, whether it's smoking pot or doing mantra or going to Africa to shoot at great big pussy cats, like Mr. Hemingway. Others become more philosophical. The fifth circuit is a very philosophical place because you're very laid back when you're on the fifth circuit, and you start thinking philosophically. I wonder how many ways there are to get here. Because if your favorite technique is pot, you find out that you can't smoke pot in the office. The boss will come around and throw a fit if you catch you. Nowadays, they're doing urine tests to make sure you're not smoking pot in the office or before you come to the office. I lived in Europe for 6 years. I was quite a shock to come back here. I find the government is prying into the bladders of the citizens, and they still got the Statue of Liberty standing in New York Harbor with the torch up there and all. The land of the free, the home of the brave, and hand in your urine so we can find out what you're doing in your own private time. George Bush voluntarily submitted to a urine test to set a good example in totalitarianism when he was vice president. Then he refused a lie detector test in the Iran-Contra investigation, which I think indicates that George doesn't want us to know whether he's telling the truth or lying, but he wants us to know he's not stolen while he's doing it. The most interesting thing about urine tests is they register alcohol, marijuana, and cocaine among the three of the most popular drugs in the country, but they don't register LSD. Now, I don't know how long this idiocy is going to go on. The Holy Inquisition went on for 800 years. Nazi Germany only lasted 13 years. I don't know how long this idiocy is going on, but I started to think, supposing urine testing really survives, what will be the evolutionary effect of this? Well, they'll weed out the people who like booze and the potheads and the coke freaks. And who will move up in the hierarchy? The people who use a drug which doesn't get registered on urine, that's LSD. So if this goes on in 20 years, the corporate hierarchy of America will be infested with acid heads, while all the potheads and coke freaks are out on the street begging along with the other homeless. Well, that's just a guess. They're not going to find a urine test that detects LSD because that stuff is so small and so subtle that it's not likely to be discovered by any of those methods. Do you have a question? Psilocybin also doesn't register on those tests. With the psychedelic people, I'm sorry, the potheads seem to be going to be pushed off to unless the country suddenly returns to the Bill of Rights and we suddenly have the right to the privacy of our own bladder again. Yes?
Beyond the Fifth Circuit, whether the Sixth Circuit or Seventh with the use of marijuana.
Pot gives you occasional vistas of the Sixth and Seventh Circuits. Can you get to the Sixth and Seventh Circuits in a permanent way with marijuana? I'm not sure. The trouble is, this is the most interesting age of neuroscience ever. There have been more important discoveries in the neurological sciences and sciences related to neurology, neurobiology, neurochemistry, and so on in the last 20 years than in all previous history. But it's all coming so fast that everybody's generalizations have to be a little bit tentative. Like, I can try to judge my own mental state, although that's a hazardous thing to try to do since there's so much self-deception in all of us. But if I try to guess how I got to this mental state, I don't know how much to attribute to marijuana and how much to attribute to brain machines like the David or the MC squared, how much to attribute to Buddhist meditation, how much to attribute to the genes I inherited. It's hard to say what tantric sex and marijuana, and this would serve as an elevation to permanently
Am I wrong?
Yeah, Crowley seems to have been an adept of Tantra to the extreme extent. If one believes his writings, which I tend to, he seems to have found it very easy to get up to the 8th circuit, just using grass and sex. That's such an old Hindu secret. The Bengali Hindus have been practicing ritual sex with marijuana for about 3,000 years at least as a path of access to the higher circuits of the brain. If you start investigating, you find there are all sorts of techniques that will get you to the 5th circuit or higher.
Which circuit are you on? The 8 circuits. What circuit are you on? How did... Oh, I see.
For your bio-survival, as long as you're there. Both Columbia is a feminine symbol. Disguise they were, basically. That's called the paradoxical reaction because it got specific content. Apparently, the goose, the is in the newborn of all mammalian species, a baby giraffe, well, it gives you an idea of how deep in genetics the archetype of mother goose. So it was just a great horned owl, but they claimed it was the great horned owl. Well, yeah, there's a lot of human chauvinism going around these days. It hasn't been denounced nearly first persons. Today, the topic is how to tell your friends from the apes, and that's a serious question. It's even harder if you try to tell your Congress entities from the apes. You'll notice how carefully I avoided the human chauvinism of saying congresspersons. Well, yeah, there's a lot of human chauvinism going around these days. It hasn't been denounced nearly as much as it deserves. I was in the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago recently. I saw the great horned owl. That's what it said on the cage, the great horned owl. I thought it was just a great horned owl. They claimed it was the great horned owl. And the sign said, this bird should be considered a desirable species. So I read a little further and it explained that the great horned owl should be considered a desirable species because they eat all sorts of critters that farmers don't like. Now there's a dreadful example of human chauvinism for you. The great horned owl is desirable because it eats critters that farmers don't want hanging around. Now, I'm sure the great horned owl would consider itself a desirable species, whether we thought so or not. And I'm sure the critters that it eats will never be persuaded that it's a desirable species. They undoubtedly regard the great horned owl as actively nefarious. And if the zoo tells us we should regard it as desirable because it's doing something we like. It reminds me of the old Sufi riddle, why do crickets make that noise all night? The answer is to give philosophers something to argue about. Human chauvinism is so pervasive you hardly notice it, like fish hardly notice the water. J.B.S. Haldane, the great British biologist, was once asked if he admitted there was a mind behind evolution, something he was much inclined to doubt. But if he did admit a mind behind evolution, what would he, as a biologist, regard as the primary characteristic? And he said immediately, an inordinate fondness for beetles. There are more beetles on this planet than anybody else. There are more beetles than there are people or ants or owls, great horned owls or sharks or redwood trees. There are more beetles than all the other insects combined. There are more species of beetles than there are of all the other species of insects and all the species of mammals and amphibians and fish and flowers and plants put together. If there is a mind behind evolution, its main idea seems to be more beetles, more beetles. And yet, if there is a mind behind evolution, it also created the trapdoor spider, the first undercover agent in evolution. The trapdoor spider digs a little hole in the ground, puts leaves and twigs above it, so it looks like this part of the ground, and whenever a beetle goes by, the trapdoor spider jumps out and eats them. So the mind behind evolution not only likes lots and lots of beetles, it likes to have something devouring the beetles still. And so it gave the trapdoor spider enough smarts to disguise itself. Being a parent, a hazardous occupation at which I have some experience. Being a parent consists largely for the first year or so of running around saying, don't put that in your mouth. Babies want to taste everything. And you did that for the first year of your life. You were tasting everything you could get into your mouth that your parents couldn't stop you from getting into your mouth by getting there on time to say, don't put that in your mouth. That's because Ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. As a matter of fact, ontology recapitulates phylogeny too, now that I think of it. That's the first original idea I've had this week. Ontology recapitulates phylogeny. Our theories of being recapitulate evolution. I'll explain that in a minute now that I've thought of it. But anyway, ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, and baby is born with the most primitive circuitry in its brain already activated at birth. Life began with a simple oral biosurvival brain. We just drift around tasting everything. And if it's nourishing, they ingest it. If it's not nourishing, they spit it out. Babies would probably do the same if we didn't interfere with them by yelling, don't put that in your mouth. Oral biosurvival intelligence is the most primordial type of intelligence. And as the dynamic gradients of simple protoplasm develop into the complex nervous systems of multicellular organisms and the still more complex nervous systems of amphibians and vertebrates and so on, the nervous system developed a genetic memory, apparently, that it knew what was good for it. And every mammal is born knowing the main place to go is first thing you do after you're born is find a tit. And if you can't find a tit, put anything else in your mouth you can find until you do find a tit. That's inbuilt knowledge. Babies aren't happy until they found a tit. If they can't find a tit, they'll settle for a bottle with a nipple on it. But if they can't find that, they'll try anything else. This brings us already to Jungian.
I don't mean to suck on my own nipples or hear anything, but I do got a beautiful pair. I'm just kidding. What the fuck I'm talking about? I gotta go outside and get some sun. But yeah, I just shared the link with you guys. How to Tell Your Friends from the Apes, Robert Anton Wilson. It's actually a lecture where he's standing, and I haven't seen this one in a while. So yeah, it's a newer upload. High tolerance of ambiguity. What the fuck is that? Is that a new fucking Donald Trump is fucking crazy. Huh? Oh, that's fucking Turquoise Dragon. Alright, cool. Check out. So yeah, everyone make sure you read the description box. If you didn't listen to the beginning, where I was reading about Manly P. Hall and his views on the heliocentric versus geocentric, make sure you go check that out. Like and share this, subscribe to my main channel. I should have put the subscribe link to my main channel in the description box like I normally do, but they're on all my other channels. My main channel is Flat Earth Subgenius. I'm tired. I gotta change the name of this channel. I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna change the name of my backup channel to. I just got a copyright strike on my main channel too from an old video. So fucking annoying. Gotta go to copyright school. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. What's up, Flat Pool? Yeah, I gotta put some sun on my balls so I can make my semen the superior tadpoles. I got basically, I'm gonna help evolve my tadpole friends and turn them into super tadpoles, so they're all really powerful. So cool. Spherical cow, glad you enjoyed yourself. The fuck? Globe exit? What's going on? All of a sudden, what's his face? Infinite Plane Society's friends are coming in, and I noticed there was an Infinite Plane Society troll earlier. I wonder. But yes, I do. Yeah, what's his face? Infinite Plane Society did turn on me. You were such a proponent of the flat Earth subgenius, even of Bob Dobbs, of J.R. Bob Dobbs. I see what you do. You're a faker. You're an anti-bobber. You give anti-slack, fake slack, false slack, and you hop on trends. You've been hopping on trends for over a decade, my friend, and you suck the money out of the trends. I gotta hop on the trends. Gotta get money. Gotta make money making a living being a faker, a pretender. It's easy for me to tell. Since the very beginning, you were messaging me, calling me privately when you first came onto the scene, because I would fill you in on all the details, because you were ignorant of it all. Especially all the personal stuff, all the personal relationships between people. I hope your sales are doing good, though. So anything else you want me to address before I get out of here? So I'm going to get out of here. All right. All right, well, I'm going to get out of here. I had to go shoot some basketballs around on the flat court and go do some gardening. So peace out. Go sun your balls. Can you address transvestigations? There's people that thought that Manly P. Hall was a woman. So even Manly P. Hall was transvestigated. And it's a really big woman, 6'4". Manly P. Hall was 6'4". That's a very large woman. I mean, I know there are 6'4" women out there, but that's pretty fucking rare. But yeah, if you look at Manly P. Hall's picture in his earlier and even his later life, he does have very feminine features. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was a woman. But yeah, I gotta get going. Later, guys. Is that the reverse? Like this? Right. Is that like this? Because this is bad. So like I'll do that. Okay? Peace.